The
We have a
rain-slicked
problem.
streets of Manhattan blurred
just
into a
went dark at the
frantic
main
haze
gate.
as
I see
Jacob
it.
bolted from the
Initiate
gilded
lockdown
doors
sequence
of the
immediately.
Waldorf Astoria, his heart pounding like a war drum against the cage of his ribs. He could still hear the echo of his family's voices stern, unyielding, pushing him toward a union that felt like chains forged in tradition's fire. An arranged marriage to seal alliances in their tight-knit Omega Alpha community. But in that split-second glance back, through the lobby's crystal haze, he saw him, Liam, striding forward with that same commanding grace that had once shattered his world, now etched with lines of a man who'd chased ghosts across years. Jacob's breath caught, a knife twist of memory slicing through the storm. How could fate be so cruel? To drag his past heartbreak into this nightmare escape. Jacob had always known his life was a delicate balance, teetering on the edge of expectation and quiet rebellion. Born into a prominent family of Omegas in the heart of New York's Upper East Side, he was the golden child who defied the stars, a doctor at Mount Sinai, saving lives in the ER's chaos while hiding the scent of his own suppressed heats behind suppressants and sheer will. At 28, with his lean frame and sharp features softened by exhaustion, Jacob embodied the quiet strength of someone who'd learned to stitch wounds both flesh and soul without ever asking for help. His hazel eyes, often crinkled in empathy for his patients, now burned with the terror of a future scripted by others. The arranged marriage to Elias, a polished alpha from a rival family in Boston, wasn't just a merger of bloodlines. It was a surrender, a silencing of the voice that had whispered dreams of autonomy since his first heat at 18. He ducked into a shadowed alley off Park Avenue, the downpour soaking through his thin jacket, mingling with the sweat of his flight. His phone buzzed relentlessly, texts from his mother, laced with guilt. "You're throwing away our legacy. Jacob, come back. This is for the pack." Pack. The word tasted bitter, a relic of the old ways their immigrant grandparents had clung to after fleeing Europe, blending ancient Alpha-Omega hierarchies with the promise of American freedom. But freedom, it had always been an illusion for Omegas like him, marked by scents that betrayed their every emotion, drawing alphas like moths to flame. Jacob leaned against the brick wall, chest heaving, and closed his eyes. The rain washed over him, but it couldn't rinse away the flood of memories crashing in. It had started 5 years ago, in the sterile glow of Columbia University's med school library, where Jacob buried himself in textbooks to escape the suffocating family dinners. Liam Hargrove, 30 now, but then a 25-year-old alpha in turn with a reputation for unraveling hearts as deftly as he set bones, had crashed into his life like a summer storm. Tall, broad-shouldered, with tousled chestnut hair and blue eyes that pierced like winter skies. Liam was everything Jacob's family warned against, a self-made alpha from Queens. No pedigree, just raw drive and a scent like aged oak and sea salt that made Jacob's knees weak from across the room. Their first meeting was electric, Liam handing him a spilled coffee with a grin that said, "I see you." And Jacob, flustered, stammering thanks while his Omega instincts screamed to submit, to claim. What followed was a whirlwind of stolen moments, late-night study sessions turning into heated debates on ethics and medicine, walks along the Hudson where Liam's hand brushed his, sending sparks up Jacob's spine. For the first time, Jacob felt seen not as an Omega asset, but as a man with fire in his veins. Liam, orphan young and raised by a single beta aunt, understood the ache of invisibility. He shared stories of scraping by on scholarships, vowing to build a life where no one dictated his path. "You're not just your biology, Jake," he'd murmur against Jacob's temple, pulling him close in the dim light of their shared apartment off campus. "You're the guy who'll change the world, one heartbeat at a time." In those arms, Jacob dared to dream off a clinic for underserved Omegas, of a love unbound by pacts or politics. But dreams fracture under pressure. Liam's alpha instincts clashed with Jacob's rising career. The sense of jealousy from colleagues. The whispers of unbalanced pairing. Gnawed at them. One night, after a brutal shift where Jacob lost a young Patiena Beta teen caught in a hate-fueled attack, Liam's protectiveness turned possessive. "You can't keep throwing yourself into the fire like this," he'd growled, pacing their tiny kitchen, his scent thickening the air until Jacob's head spun. It was the first crack. The moment Jacob realized Liam's love, fierce as it was, carried the weight of control he couldn't bear. Arguments escalated. Silences stretched. Until the night Liam's family traditional alphas from the old neighborhood demanded he settle down properly, implying Jacob was a phase, a distraction from duty. The breakup was a gut punch. Liam, eyes hollow, had packed his bags under the fluorescent buzz of their hallway light. "I can't watch you destroy yourself, Jake. And I can't be the reason you do." No grand gestures. Just the click of the door and the echo of Jacob's sob. Alone with the scent of oak fading from his sheets. Heartbreak settled like lead in his chest. A shadow that colored every patient he saved. Every family dinner he endured. He threw himself into work, rising through the ranks at Mount Sinai. But the suppressants couldn't dull the phantom ache. The what-ifs that haunted his quiet hours. Now, 5 years later, that ache roared back to life as Jacob emerged from the alley, wiping rain from his face, determined to vanish into the subway's underbelly. He'd planned this for months, a one-way ticket to Seattle, a new identity in a beta-heavy practice, leaving the packs behind. But as he stepped onto the sidewalk, a black SUV idled curbside, its tinted window rolling down to reveal a face that stopped his world cold. Liam. Not the young intern, but a man honed by time, senior surgeon now, consultant for elite families. His suit impeccable, jaw set in that familiar line of resolve. "Jacob," he called, voice cutting through the rain like a lifeline thrown too late. "Get in. We need to talk." Jacob's legs locked, betrayal and longing warring in his throat. How was Liam here? Tied to the arrangement. The pieces slammed together as family's whispers of a trusted alpha intermediary. The sudden hospital merger rumors. Elias's family had pulled strings. And Liam, ever the dutiful fixer, had been roped in. Past and present collided in Jacob's chest. A storm fiercer than the one overhead. He wanted to run, to scream. But those blue eyes held him, whispering promises of closure he'd never sought. With a curse under his breath, Jacob yanked open the door, sliding in as the city lights streaked by, trapping him in the warmth of a scent he'd buried but never forgotten. The SUV hummed through Midtown, wipers slashing rhythmically against the onslaught. Liam's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, his cologne subtle now, matured mingling with the leather seats to create a cocoon Jacob both craved and despised. "I didn't know it was you," Liam said finally, voice rough as gravel. "Not until an hour ago, when your mother called me in a panic. Said you were bolting from the dinner." A bitter laugh escaped him, as if I'd let you disappear into the night like some ghost. Jacob stared out the window, watching blurred umbrellas bob like distant stars. "You don't get to let me do anything, Liam. Not anymore." The words tasted like ash, laced with the old hurt that had festered into scar tissue. 5 years of therapy sessions and stolen lunch hours, of journaling scents and dreams to reclaim his autonomy. And here he was, unraveling at the mere proximity. His omega side purred traitorously, soothed by the alpha's presence. But his mind rebelled, flashing to the clinic he'd built in his Minda haven for omegas fleeing forced bonds. Funded by grants he'd chased relentlessly. Liam glanced over, eyes tracing Jacob's profile with a hunger that bordered on pain. Elias is a good match on paper. Stable pack. Resources for your work. But I told them from the start this isn't right. You're not some bargaining chip. He paused, navigating a snarl of traffic near the hospital district. And then I saw your name on the contract. God. Jake. It hit me like a freight train. All this time. And you're still running from us. The question hung, heavy as the rain. Jacob's fingers twisted in his lap, nails biting crescents into his palms. Us. The word evoked rooftop picnics under starlit skies. Liam's laughter rumbling through him during anatomy labs. The way he'd traced Jacob's suppressant scar on his inner arm with reverent fingers. But also the fights the alpha rages that left Jacob scent-marked and small. The ultimatums that chipped away at his dreams. You left me, Jacob whispered, voice cracking. Said I was too fragile for your world. So yeah, I'm running. From that. From this farce they call family honor. Liam pulled into the underground garage of Mount Sinai. The engines purred, dying to silence. The concrete echoed their breaths, amplified in the close space. I was wrong, he admitted, turning to face him fully, blue eyes stormy with regret. Scared. Mostly. My aunt dying that year. The pressure from the old guard, it twisted me. I thought letting you go would protect you. But seeing you tonight. Fierce as ever. I can't let history repeat. He reached out, hesitating, then let his hand drop. Stay? Just for the night. Let me help you fight this. Jacob's resolve wavered. The pull of those eyes, a gravity he couldn't escape. The hospital loomed above. A beacon of the life he'd carved from ruins, a place where he'd saved alphas from overdoses, omegas from abusive bonds, betas from the fringes. Could Liam, reformed or not, fit into that? Or was this reunion just another heartbreak scripted by fate? As the elevator door slid open, Jacob stepped out first, the scent of antiseptic welcoming him home, even as Liam's shadow followed, promising a reckoning long overdue. The fluorescent hum of the ER greeted Jacob like an old friend, a chaotic symphony of beeps and hurried footsteps that grounded him amid the turmoil churning inside. He bypassed the nurse's station with a nod to Maria, his steadfast beta colleague who'd covered for him more times than he could count during heats gone awry. Rough night. Doc, she called, eyebrow arched at his drenched state. Jacob forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. You could say that. Cover for me if anyone asks. She winked, already turning back to a chart, her no-nonsense efficiency a bomb in his storm. Liam trailed a step behind, his presence a magnetic field that drew sidelong glances from staff alphas straightening instinctively, omegas flushing under the weight of his aura. Jacob led them to his on-call room, a cramped sanctuary of rumpled sheets and medical journals stacked like fortifications. The door clicked shut, sealing them in with the ghosts of what-ifs. Jacob peeled off his soaked jacket, hanging it on the hook with deliberate care, buying time to steady his pulse. This isn't a social call. Liam, whatever strings they pulled to get you here, cut them. Tell my family I'm done. Liam leaned against the desk, arms crossed over his chest, the fabric of his shirt straining against muscles honed by years of surgical precision. At 30, he carried the gravitas of a man who'd risen through sheer grit, chief resident at 28, now consulting on high-profile cases that bridged PACs and politics. But the lines around his eyes spoke of sleepless nights. The faint scar on his knuckle from a bar fight in his wilder days, a reminder of the rough edges he'd sanded down for whom. It's not that simple, he said, voice low, threaded with the alpha timbre that once made Jacob's world tilt. Your family's leveraged the merger with Elias's PAC for funding your Omega Clinic project. Pull out now. And it crumbles. I know because I'm the one they hired to oversee it. Jacob's blood ran cold, then hot. The clinic, his baby, sketched in late-night margins. A vision of safe spaces for Omegas navigating heats without shame. Counseling for forced pairings. Medical care free from judgment. He'd poured his soul into grant proposals, citing stats on rising Omega isolation in urban America, drawing from his own veiled scars. You're part of this. The betrayal stung fresh, layering over the old wound. He sank onto the bed, elbows on knees, staring at the scuffed linoleum as if it held answers. Not by choice, Liam countered, pushing off the desk to kneel before him, close enough that Jacob could feel the heat radiating off his skin. It was a supplicant's pose, un-alpha-like, and it cracked something in Jacob's chest. I took the gig 6 months ago, thinking it was just another corporate handhold. Then I read the founder's bio. Every proposal, every initiative. It's you, Jake, the man I loved, building empires from pain. His hand hovered near Jacob's knee, not touching, but the air between crackled with intent. I came tonight to sabotage it from the inside. Convince them you're not for sale. But then you ran, and I couldn't let you go again. The room shrank, the world narrowing to the space between them. Jacob's breath hitched, memories flooding unbidden, the way Liam had held him after that first heat together. Not as conqueror, but guardian, murmuring affirmations until the cramps eased. The pride in his eyes at Jacob's white coat ceremony. The quiet vow whispered in the crowd, you'll heal more than bodies. Love, you'll mend the broken parts of us all. But pride turns to possession, vows to venom. You say that now? Jacob murmured, voice thick. But back then, you treated me like glass. Liam, fragile Omega, too soft for the alpha world. I had to become unbreakable without you. Liam's jaw clenched, pain etching deeper into his features. I was an idiot, lost in my own insecurities, alpha raised on scraps, terrified of failing you. When my family pushed, I folded instead of fighting. Biggest mistake of my life. He risked the touch then, fingers brushing Jacob's hand, light as a scalpel's edge. The contact ignited nerves long dormant. Jacob's skin tingling with the echo of their bond. Faint but undeniable. In their world, separations didn't sever sense entirely. They lingered. A haunting perfume. A pager buzzed Jacob's, shrill and insistent. Trauma incoming, multi-car pileup on the FDR. Duty called. The one constant that never betrayed. He stood abruptly, breaking the contact, slipping into the role of DR. Ellis with practiced ease. Shift's not over. We finish this later. Liam rose too, nodding, but his eyes promised pursuit. As Jacob dashed into the fray, gown snapping on, gloves snapping tight, the yar's rhythm enveloped him. A temporary shield. He triaged a beta mother clutching her alpha son, both bruised but breathing. Her thanks a whisper that steadied his shaking hands. In saving them, he saved a sliver of himself. Hours blurred into a haze of sutures and orders. The adrenaline a merciful distraction. By dawn, the rain had eased to a drizzle, the city awakening in gray light. Liam waited in the lounge, nursing black coffee, his tie loosened like a noose cast off. Talk to me, he urged as Jacob slumped into the chair opposite, exhaustion carving hollows under his eyes. What's the clinic mean to you? Really? Jacob sipped his own brew, bitter and grounding. It's redemption. For the kid I was. Hiding heats in bathroom stalls at school because my parents said endure for the family. For every Omega profiled in those grant suicide rates spiking. Bonds forced like contracts. I want a place where choice isn't a luxury. His voice gained strength. The passion that had drawn Liam once flaring anew. And yeah, it's personal. After you. I rebuilt. But running tonight. That's me choosing again. Liam leaned forward, elbows on knees, mirroring Jacob's earlier pose. Then let me help. Not as your alpha. Not as anything but the man who owes you a lifetime of apologies. The offer hung, vulnerable, stripped of command. Outside, the sun cracked the clouds, gilding the skylinear tentative promise. Jacob searched those blue depths, weighing the risk against the pull of unfinished stories. One condition, he said finally, heart-thundering. No more running the show. We do this as equals. A slow smile broke across Liam's face, the first genuine one Jacob had seen, lighting the weariness like dawn. Equals. Deal. As they rose, shoulders brushing in the narrow space, Jacob felt the first thaw in his frozen Korea spark of possibility amid the ruins. But equality was uncharted territory for men like them, alphas and omegas bound by biology's whisper. The day stretched ahead, filled with board meetings and family calls, tests of this fragile truce. Little did Jacob know, the real storm brewed not in the skies, but in the secrets Liam still guarded, truths that could either mend or shatter them anew. The boardroom at Mount Sinai's administrative wing was a sterile arena of glass walls and mahogany tables, where alphas in suits debated futures like chess pieces. Jacob arrived mid-morning, scrubbed fresh but soul-weary, Liam at his flank like a sentinel. Whispers rippled as they entered Hargrove and Ellis, the prodigal pair sense sharpening the air with curiosity and caution. Seated at the head was Victoria Ellis, Jacob's mother, her Omega Grace masked in pearl earrings and a sheath dress, eyes like polished steel. Beside her, Elias Thorna 32, blonde and broad. With the easy charm of old money, alphas flashed a smile that didn't warm. Jacob, darling, Victoria began, voice honey over thorns. Your theatrics last night were unbecoming. We've all made sacrifices for the greater good. Her gaze flicked to Liam, appraising. Dr. Hargrove assures us you're reconsidering. Liam cleared his throat, stepping into the breach. Mrs. Ellis, with respect, Jacob's vision for the clinic aligns with Thornpack resources. But the foundation must be consent, not coercion. His tone was measured, professional. But Jacob caught the undercurrent, the alpha restraint it took not to claim territory. Elias leaned back, fingers steepled. Noble words, Hargrove. But pacts endure through bonds, not ideals. Jacob, think of the legacy. His scent bloomed, assertive yet restrained, probing Jacob's edges. It was polite aggression, the kind that made omegas like Jacob's stomach twist. The meeting devolved into figures, budgets ballooning, timelines tightening, each number a noose. Jacob's mind raced, countering with data, Omega mental health stats from recent studies, dropout rates in med programs due to family pressures. This isn't just business. He pressed, voice steady despite the flush creeping up his neck. It's lives. Force this, and you lose the heart of it. Victoria's lips thinned, a rare crack in her composure. But pride flickered her son, the fighter she'd molded yet couldn't contain. As they adjourned, Elias cornered Jacob in the hall, hand light on his arm. Give it time. You'll see the strength in unity. The touch lingered, testing, and Jacob pulled away gently, sense spiking with unease. Unity's earned, not imposed. Elias nodded, retreating with a gracious nod, but his eyes lingered, calculating. Lunch was a hurried affair in the cafeteria, Liam sliding a tray beside Jacob's grilled chicken for him. Salad for Jacob, a nod to remembered preferences. You held your ground, Liam said softly, fork pausing midair. Proud of you. The praise warmed, unbidden, stirring embers Jacob thought cold. Had to. For the clinic. For me. They ate in companionable quiet, the bustle around them a buffer. Liam shared snippets of his years apart, a mission trip to rural clinics in Appalachia, treating forgotten shifters, the quiet nights reading Jacob's published papers, tracing his ascent from afar. "You became everything I knew you could," he confessed, vulnerability cracking his voice. "I stayed away to let you shine." Jacob swallowed hard, salad turning to lead. Shining doesn't mean alone. The admission slipped out, raw, echoing the boy who'd wept into pillows after Liam's departure. What followed was a tentative bridge building, plans for the clinic. Joint proposals where Liam's surgical expertise meshed with Jacob's empathy. Laughter crept in. Hesitant a shared eye roll at a pompous resident's story rekindling the ease they'd lost. Afternoon brought the real gauntlet, a call from Jacob's father, Elias Sr., a booming alpha voice over speakerphone, laced with disappointment. "Boy, this rebellion dishonors us. Hargrove's a wildcard. Remember why you two failed." The words landed like blows, dredging the old narrative, Omega too ambitious, Alpha too volatile. Liam's face darkened, but Jacob cut in. Fierce. "Failed. We grew. And Dad, this is my life now." He hung up, trembling, only for Liam to squeeze his shoulder solid. Supportive. "You're braver than I ever was," Liam murmured. Dusk fell as they walked the hospital gardens. Autumn leaves crunching underfoot, the air crisp with change. Jacob's heat suppressants hummed in his veins, a low warning of cycles nearing. But Liam's presence soothed rather than inflamed. "What now?" Jacob asked, halting by a bench overlooking the East River, lights twinkling like distant hopes. Liam turned to him. "Ernest, we face it together. Your family, the Packs, whatever comes. But first, forgive me, not for leaving, but for not fighting harder." The plea hung. The Alpha bared. No shields. Jacob's heart clenched, tears pricking unexpected. Forgiveness wasn't a switch, but a suture, slow and deliberate. "I'm trying," he whispered, stepping closer, foreheads touching in a gesture older than words. The river whispered below, carrying away fragments of grudge. In that moment, amid the gathering twilight, Jacob glimpsed a path not straight, but shared. Yet shadows loomed, Elias's persistence, family machinations, and the unspoken fear what if history's heartbreak was etched too deep to erase. Evenings in the city held a fragile magic, street lamps casting halos on wet pavements, the hum of life a counterpoint to inner tempests. Jacob and Liam fell into an uneasy rhythm, stealing hours between shifts, coffee runs that stretched into confessions, rooftop views where pasts unspooled like threadbare reels. Jacob learned of Liam's hidden battles, the alpha rage therapy he'd sought in secret, the pack ostracism for going soft on Omega rights. "They called me traitor," Liam admitted one night, wind whipping his hair as they perched on Jacob's fire escape, takeout containers cooling between them. "For loving you enough to let go." Irony. Huh. Jacob chuckled, bittersweet, the sound easing knots in his chest. "We were kids playing at forever." At 23, he'd been all fire and idealism, convinced love conquered biology's chains. Liam, 25, a storm of ambition and doubt, had mirrored that intensity until it consumed them. Now, seasoned, they navigated with care, conversations laced with I statements, boundaries drawn like surgical lines. The clinic proposal gained traction, a beacon amid the fray. Late nights in Jacob's apartment cluttered with case files and half-read novels saw them hunched over laptops. Liam's steady hand editing prose while Jacob sketched floor plans. Consultation rooms scented neutral. Heat suites with locking doors. Group circles for story sharing. This could change everything. Jacob breathed, highlighter poised over a budget sheet. Liam's gaze softened, pride blooming in his scent. It will. Because it's yours. But progress invited pushback. Victoria descended one crisp Tuesday, unannounced, bearing tiramisu from the family baker as peace offering her Trojan horse. Over tea in Jacob's kitchen, her Omega intuition pierced veils. Darling, Hargrove's charming, but he's not Pac. Elias offers stability. Her hand on his, cool and insistent, stirred guilt's old tide. You've always been our dreamer. Don't let heartbreak blind you to security. Jacob's throat tightened, the weight of generations pressing. Mom, security without soul is prison. He spoke of the clinic, of Omegas like his cousin Lila, bonded young and now medicated against despair. Victoria listened, expression fracturing rare vulnerability from the woman who'd taught him poise over tears. I bonded for duty. She confessed quietly. Your father. He tried. But I wonder. Sometimes. What if? The admission bridged them. Tentative. A crack in the facade. Elias, undeterred, escalated with gestures, flowers to the ER. Invitations to galas where alphas networked like wolves. One such event, a glittering affair at the Met, tested Jacob's resolve. Liam accompanied as consultant. His tuxedo sharp. Arm offered not in possession but partnership. Amid chandeliers and champagne flutes, Elias cornered them. Charm weaponized. Jacob, a dance. For old times or future ones. His hand extended, sent probing. Liam tensed beside Jacob, but held back. A nod of trust. Heart hammering. Jacob accepted polite, not promising letting Elias lead in a waltz that felt like reconnaissance. You're wasted on ideals, Elias murmured, breath warm on his ear. With me, you'd have empires. Jacob pulled back at the song's end. Polite smile masking steel. Empires built on cages aren't mine. Later, on the balcony overlooking Central Park, Liam found him, offering a stolen flute of bubbly. You okay? Concern etched his brow. No jealousy, just care. Better, Jacob replied, clinking glasses. The city sprawled below, a tapestry of lights symbolizing reinvention. Dancing with the enemy clarified things. He turned, meeting Liam's eyes, the pull between them a live wire. Thesusit's messy, but real. Liam's hand cupped his cheek, thumb tracing jawline with reverence. Real's all I want. The kiss that followed was tentative. A question answered in soft pressure, lips brushing. Sense mingling like reconciliation. No heat. No rush. Just the slow rebuild of trust. Tongues tentative explorers of familiar terrain. Jacob melted into it. Hands fisting Liam's lapels. The world fading to heartbeat sync. Pulling apart. Breathless. They lingered in afterglow. Foreheads pressed. Slow. Jacob whispered. A boundary, an invitation. Liam nodded. Eyes shining. As slow as you need. Dawn crept in, promising tomorrow's unscripted. Yet, as they parted for shifts, a text from an unknown number chilled Jacob. Some bonds can't be broken. Watch your back. Anonymous threat. Or family warning. The clinic's launch loomed. Stakes rising. And with it, the test of whether past heartbreaks could forge a future unbroken. Winter's bite sharpened Manhattan's edges. Frost etching windows like fragile warnings, mirroring the cracks in Jacob's rebuilt world. The clinic project accelerated. Ground broken in a brownstone in Harlem neutral ground. Away from packed strongholds. Jacob threw himself into it, overseeing renovations between ER marathons. His hands calloused from hammering beams alongside volunteers. Liam joined weekends. Sleeves rolled. Sweat beading on his brow as he installed shelves. his alpha strength tempered by deference to Jacob's vision. "Boss me around," he'd tease, handing tools. The banter a lifeline in exhaustion's fog. Their reconnection deepened in stolen intimacies, shared scarves on subway rides. Notes tucked into lunch bags breathe. Hero echoing the boyish affections of your dates emerged Organicalia exhibit at MoMA, where Liam's fingers laced with Jacob's amid abstract swirls. Discussing how art mirrored omega fluidity. A jazz club in the village. Body swaying close. Liam's chin on Jacob's shoulder. Synths harmonizing like bass and sax. Intimacy built layers, hands exploring scars. Not conquering, but mapping histories. Jacob's first unsuppressed heat in years approached. A milestone he dreaded alone. But Liam's presence promised sanctuary. Not storm. Family tensions simmered to boil. Jacob's father arrived from the suburbs. A bearish alpha with a voice like thunder, demanding a sit-down at their ancestral brownstone. The dinner was a battlefield, crystal clinking like swords. Courses served with veiled barbs. "You're playing with fire, son," Elias Sr. growled, carving roast with precision. "Hargrove's no thorn. And this clinic, a folly that'll bankrupt you." Victoria mediated, eyes pleading. But Jacob held firm, voice steady. "It's not folly, it's future." And Liam's proven himself, time and again. Liam, seated beside Jacob, added measured weight. "Sir, I've erred before, but I'm here to build, not break." Respect laced his tone. No challenge, earning a grudging nod. Yet, as plates cleared, the anonymous text resurfaced using U-tipped by a photo of Liam with Elias at a prior meeting. Context twisted. Paranoia crept. Jacob confronting Liam in the car ride home. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Liam's grip tightened on the wheel. Jaw set. The photo. Strategy session for the merger. I pushed back. "Jake." Hard. Hurt flickered in his eyes. The old fracture lines aching. "Trusts earned. Remember. Have I given you reason to doubt?" Jacob deflated. Shame hot in his cheeks. "No. I'm sorry, the pressures. It's warping me." They parked. Silence thick. Until Liam pulled him into an embrace. Strong arms a harbor. "We're in this. Doubts and all." The heat hit like a freight train. 2 weeks later, Jacob waking in sweats. Body aflame. Instincts clawing for relief. Suppressants failed. Side effects from stress amplifying the surge. He texted Liam from his apartment. Voice memo trembling. "Can't do this alone." Minutes later, Liam was there. He'd kept from years ago turning smooth. No words. Just present school cloths on fevered skin. Murmured stories of calm seas to anchor the waves. Liam held space. Sent steadying without dominating. Hands chased on Jacob's back as cramps racked him. "I've got you," he repeated. A mantra through delirium. Dawn broke. Heat ebbing. Leaving Jacob wrung out, but whole. Curled against Liam on the couch. He whispered thanks. Tears soaking shirt. "Thought I'd face it solo forever." Liam kissed his temple. Soft. "Never again. If you'll have me." The vulnerability sealed something profound, a bond reforged. Not in passion's blaze, but endurance's quiet fire. Spring bloomed as the clinic ribbon cut neared. Cherry blossoms dusting paths like confetti. Volunteers swelled omegas from support groups. Betas from advocacy orgs. Even skeptical alphas swayed by Jacob's passion. Elias made a final play. A lavish proposal at the site, diamond cufflinks engraved unity. "Pack elders in tow. Join us properly," he urged. Voice velvet over iron. Jacob, flanked by Liam and Maria, declined with grace. "My unity's chosen." Elias's smile faltered. Retreat dignified but eyes promising ripples. The threat's source emerged days later, a disgruntled Thorn cousin. Sabotaging from spite. Texts traced by Liam's contacts. Confrontation with civil mediation at a neutral cafe. Apologies exchanged. Bridges scorched, but not raised. Jacob's parents attended the opening. Victoria's arm linked with his. Tears unshed as she toured rooms named for lost kin. Proud. She mouthed. The word a bomb. On launch night. Under strung lights and laughter. Jacob took the mic. Voice carrying over the crowd. This isn't an end, it's a beginning. For choices reclaimed. Hearts mended. Eyes found Liam's in the throng. Blue anchors in green gold. Later. Amid toasts. Liam pulled him aside. Ring box simple and pocket not proposal. But promise. When you're ready. He said, slipping a band etched with intertwined initials. Jacob slid his on. Fitting perfect. We both are. As guests milled, Jacob leaned into Liam. City pulse syncing with theirs. Heartbreak's shadow lingered. A teacher not tyrant. Shaping them into men worthy of this love as partner. Not prison. The journey stretched. Kinks and kin ahead. But together, they ran toward dawn. Unbroken.